appreciate everyone showing up. Just want to walk through our agenda for tonight. We just got done with our networking. Check on that one. First thing I want to do is go through some information about the BYOC campaign, and then a couple other updates we have for some other people in the audience tonight. And then 7:15, we're going to have a reuse panel discussion, so it'll be really exciting. And then at 8, we'll have a little wrap up, and we'll talk about our organization and kind of where we're going, and try to get some input from you guys on what direction should we go, what should we do with our organization. We've been around 30 plus years, so we have a lot of good history. But now, where do we go in the future, and what is the interest level from people who took time to come out tonight? So what's the direction we should be going, and if we'd like to be involved in some of that participation going forward, that would be great. Okay. All right. So, so for the BYOC campaign, we've been running this a couple years now, and making some progress, but we're also got a long ways to go as well. So we have about 25 coffee shops that have been actively we've been working with or talking to and trying to get them involved in our campaign. And so for those of you who don't know, it's a Bring Your Own Cup campaign for coffee shops. We're trying to get the customers to bring their own coffee cup or to dine in with a For Here cup. They're just trying to cut down the amount of disposable coffee cups. One of the activities going on in Berkeley is that they're going to be having a 25-cent fee added to coffee cups, all disposable coffee cups. I don't know when that goes into effect. I don't know if anyone knows offhand, but that's in the works. That's really intriguing. Nosa Familia also has imposed a 25-cent charge on to-go cups at some of their shops, and now they've rolled it out to all their shops in Portland. The numbers, basically, about 2/3 of their customers were taking to-go cups, and now they've got that down to about 1/3. So they've cut that in half, basically, just by having a 25-cent charge. And so, yeah, it's really good. Really cool stuff. So on the website, we've got some articles about some of the activity they've been releasing out there. We also have other options coming online. So Jocelyn's here from GoBox, and she's also we'll talk about her coffee cups, a reusable coffee cup program. So that's another option we have going forward, which is really exciting. And then Nicole, wait here. She's one of the owners here at Floyd, so thank you for hosting us tonight. She's also been working through a program with Keep Cup, and so if you have a minute or so, do you want to possibly give us an update on just how that's working, good and bad, about the program? Yeah, if you have a second.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming tonight. I'm excited to see everyone that decided to come and wants to do big changes. So thank you. A couple of quick house tips here. The bathroom code is 1985. If anyone needs it, they can swing on in there in that part. 2, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my Keep Cup exchange program and how here in Old Town, it's just really a difficult place to try to work on that because it's an extra cost for the folks that are there, and they forget to bring their cups. However, when I give them a $1 discount, then they start like really, oh, eyes pop. Hey, I'm gonna start doing this. And so I've been able to do a lot of stuff with the $1 discount of bring your own cup, and with the Keep Cup exchange, where someone just brings a cup, they buy a cup, I do it just barely above cost, and then they are able to just bring it in, hand it to me, even if it's dirty, I'll put it in the dishwasher and hand them a nice clean one and send it on out. And so that's a really nice and quick way to just a way to kind of like slow down the problems that people put up. Because a lot of people will say, oh, it takes so long, or oh, I just struggle, and so I can take away their excuses. And so that's one of the great things that I feel like we can all work on doing, and I hope that more and more people will come online with the Keep Cup Exchange. Thank you again for coming and hanging out with me tonight, and if you need anything, just let me know. Again, my name is Nicole. Right on.
So the campaign is basically the way we've been approaching it is going to shops and talking to them directly about kind of the incentives we recommend and suggest, including charging a cost. A lot of them are taking that up on that, but even just offering a discount is better than nothing. Some do 10 cents, some do 25 cents, some do 50 cents. Some have done maybe a full size upgrade. So there's different levels of things that people have been trying. Just even like reminders, telling people about it. Is this for here to go? Those are very simple things that people can do. And so just talking to the shops about that, but that takes a lot of work and a lot of volunteers to pull that off. And so we've all been busy with things and haven't really reached as many shops as we'd like to. Yeah.
I have a question. How many coffee shops are there in Portland, Oregon?
I think 200 or 300.
Okay.
I found 200 plus on Google Maps.
Okay.
And I think that's not all of them, so I think it's closer to 300. And that's like Portland Metro. If you start getting outside of the metro a little bit, it's probably even more. So there's a lot. And so that approach works, but it's a lot of education and a lot of discussion and a lot of popping in and finding the manager and all those difficult things. So we've kind of talked a lot about, is this the best direction to go, or do we try to go down some route of like a fee program where it's across the board and you don't get penalized for trying to do the right thing by someone saying, I'm going to go somewhere else where I don't get charged extra. So those are some of the things we wanted to talk through a little bit. And so it kind of leads to where we're going as a board. And so we've had some people on our board that have been around a while in our organization, and we've all gotten busy with other things, personal life, job changes, moves, stuff like that. And so we're kind of at a crossroads where we can either go down a new campaign or modify what we're doing and kind of go more legislative, down like a fee-based approach with the city and try to partner with some other coffee shops. But we also wanted to not try to launch something if we're kind of in a transition as a board itself. And so that's what later the discussion will be around, is how do we bring in new people into the organization who want to jump on some of these new campaigns. And maybe it's not the coffee cups. Maybe we wrap that up and we start looking at something else more exciting and invigorating for people who are interested in that. Okay, so that's what some of the discussion is. So appreciate everybody who filled out surveys for us and gave us some feedback on some of the topics that were of interest. That's what we'll talk about after our panel discussion. So the goal is to try to have a plan by the beginning of the year of maybe a new group of people for the board. And so I think we're going to do almost a complete overhaul of the group. And so there'll be 3 of us involved through the rest of next year for sure. And then depending on our schedules and stuff like that, beyond that point. So, but we want to have some transition point there. So we're kind of starting kind of fresh with the group that's been around a really long time with a long history. But we want to make that transition smooth and we didn't want to set up a new campaign or start anything fresh without having the people who would be involved in running it and taking it from there, setting the tone and thinking what that project is. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So some of the past initiatives that Recycling Advocates has been involved with is the Master Recycler Program. Yeah, it's very impressive. That program is amazing. They've done, I don't even know the latest numbers, but it's thousands of people have gone through the program and reached tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of hours, 7,000, something like that. Yeah, it's amazing. And it keeps growing, and they are expanding the program more and more. So that's a great outreach, and that's really set, I think, a tone for Portland on why we're so interested in this topic and why we're getting the numbers we are getting, even though there's a lot of room for improvement. The bottle bill, we were involved in that early on. E-waste programs, product stewardship programs in the past, plastic bag ban. And then last year we had a zero waste conference that was a really big success. And so those are different things we've done already in the past. Going forward, there's a lot of different ideas around new uses for plastic. What do we do with that going forward? There's existing amount of plastic out there. What do we can't find homes for it, so is there other alternative things we can do with it? Food waste reduction, is that an effort? And increasing composting options, is that an option for people to go down that route? Do we go full board on something like zero waste and make that kind of the focus of the organization. Reduction of single-use plastics. There's already activity going on at the ordinance level. Pete, I don't know if this might be a good time. You want to give us a little update on the ordinance going on in the city of Portland?
Sure.
This is Pete Chisholm-Winfield, the city of Portland.
And don't forget about that foam ban back in '92, which I was in high school. I don't think I was paying attention, but that did happen because of the recycling of the kids. So behind the, I'm sorry, what's your name, Deborah?
Deborah.
Deborah?
Deborah.
Deborah.
Or Deborah. I'll respond to both.
Deborah.
Yeah.
Right next to Deborah's elbow is a stack of bees, and there are
bees.
little information about, thank you, about the single-use plastics policy that's going into effect on Tuesday. So actually, Floyd's took their notification and put it on their espresso machine over there. And has everyone heard about this? Okay. So this is designed to hit the reset button in places like coffee shops and restaurants and grocery stores and fast food places and convenience stores and food carts, so that you aren't automatically given a bunch of single-use plastic crap you don't need, and that they stop to ask you if you need it. Now, if you do need it, it will be available, but it's resetting the conversation. And I think that probably a lot of you have seen a lot of changes that have happened already, that businesses are really stepping forward and making some changes, which is great. I think we always got to keep an eye on what Berkeley's doing, because they've got some fantastic programs down there. And the information, frequently asked questions are on one side, and then there's information about policy in general on the other. So spread the word, and yeah, if you have any questions, I can answer those, or one or two. Thanks.
I have a question, and it's a big one. What would it take to get the city of Portland?
So I forgot to say I work for the city of Portland. I was trying to get,
Yeah.
a wave.
So, what would it take to get the city of Portland to do what Berkeley has done, which is mandate that the coffee shops in the town charge 25 cents for a disposable cup? Because that's got to be, it's nice to work with coffee shops, but really we need ordinance like this.
So that's a great question, Holly.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but
And there's no easy answer to this, because really it depends on the problem that you're trying to solve for. Are you trying to solve for climate? If you're trying to solve for climate, then maybe not developing a policy and further going down this road is the pathway that you would want to go down. But if you're trying to solve for ocean plastics, then maybe we want to expand to a policy like that, like Berkeley's. But I would challenge you to think beyond that, because really the policy that we should be thinking about is on the federal level, and it's about all of the plastics we're exporting to other countries and what happens to that plastic. So if we're trying to solve for ocean plastics, I think we need to keep the eye on the ball, and Elizabeth Warren did a good job of mentioning this, is that the straws are important, but they're also a distraction from the bigger problem, and that's focusing on the plastic and oil industry. I'm not speaking for the city of Portland, by the way, right now. I'm sure that a lot of people would agree with me. But really, it all depends on the problem you're trying to solve. And once you try to figure out that question, then you got to fill the room with people who are going to be affected by that and have that conversation. So I look forward to further developing policies that help solve problems, and we'll see what happens. So, but thank you.
sort of hard to get things done on a federal level at this point.
I don't know, it's a pretty major development today, so thank you.
But Portland is, something that, we ought to be able to have an impact on, right? Even if we can't solve the world's crisis of overconsumption. But, Portland could, it's like one small step from this.
Yeah, so we also have a climate action plan. The climate action plan doesn't really have anything to do with single-use plastics. There are a lot of really important things in the climate action plan, and so we have to also evaluate what resources we have available to us and try to figure out our priority based off of what problem we're trying to solve. So I think it's going to be worth exploring options in the future, but we also want to keep in mind that taking energy and putting it toward exploring those options, maybe taking away from other things like, you know, getting to a all-electric fleet in the city. So.
Just one last point. According to Starbucks, each disposable coffee cup is responsible for 1/4 pound of greenhouse gas emissions. So it is a climate action issue.
Well, so I would say that the climate associated with the materials that are in the container, the coffee, the food, if that goes to waste, that's going to have a way bigger impact than the packaging that it's holding in. So it's all relative to whatever you're looking at, right? So we want to make sure that people are responsibly eating and drinking their food and not wasting that, because I think that's a huge opportunity, because all that takes is behavior change, which is so simple and easy, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's why I'm saying that.
I just want to say I'm really excited about this. Thank you for bringing these. And how is the word getting out to businesses that this affects?
So we sent 2 notifications to 7,000 businesses in Portland. One was, hey, this is coming in a couple months. The other one was just a couple weeks ago, which it's here, and here's where you can get assistance. So it was very assistance heavy. It also said that if you don't do this, you'll get fined $100. Your second fine could be $200. Your third would be $500, and then that's what you would get fined within a calendar year, which is much more aggressive than the state, which is 8 $25 fines up to $300 in the course of a calendar year, which is crazy. Like, there's no one in the state that's going to go to a business 12 times and fine them $25. But anyway, so there's some meeting there, and we did notify them twice about that, and we've gotten a lot of questions from them as well. So yeah.
Does this policy apply to universities?
It does. It applies. I'm sorry. Second half.
Yes, you and the university.
Yeah. So it does apply to institutions, and in particular institutional cafeterias. So yeah, the PSU's been notified. All of the big governments have been notified, including the federal government, and all the hospitals as well. So, yeah.
If somebody sees that this is still happening, is it like a public responsibility that we notify someone, or
Yes,
how do you find out if someone's not?
Good question. This is a complaint-based system. There's a number on here, which is our general number, 823-7202. And if you would like to make a complaint, you call that number, and then the person that answers the phone will be creating a case that one of our enforcement officers will follow up on.
Nice. And then
Good question.
I have like one bigger question, and it might not be
Oh,
one
I
that
don't know
you
if
can
you take a
answer.
bigger question.
So, from the research that I've been doing around big corporations, the future of retail is that it should be circular, and you're responsible for whatever products you create. You will have to be able to take back. This is like 20, 30, 50 years away. But that is like that's the end goal of retail and things like that. Is that something that the city of Portland, just like California or whatever, like, is there a way that we can ask businesses that come out of Portland or Beaverton or here around, like, if we see that their trash is not being ethically taken back, is that something that's in your like future thought process, or like anything that anybody talks about in the city, or?
Well, that's
like-
probably, it's out of the city of Portland's
Yeah.
jurisdiction. So the city of Portland's jurisdiction is twofold. One, we regulate the collection of recycling, garbage, and compost. And two, we regulate the prohibition of some plastics. So we have a plastic bag ban, we have a film container ban, and we have this new single-use plastic ban, or restriction, sorry. So that's kind of the legal authority that we have right now, and we would have to go through some major changes in government, which I think might be possible in Portland, and but we would have to establish different regulatory authority, which is constricted by state and federal laws. So we'll do what we can, but having a closed loop system obviously is something we all want to strive for. But any corporation that tells you they're going to do it in 2030 or 2050 is full of shit. Because Coca-Cola said they were going to put 20% recycled content in their bottles by 2000, and that was in 1990. And how much do they have now? Not 20%, maybe 4, maybe 3. I mean, they're alive.
Starbucks the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun fact, I was in a business meeting where it was already, everything was already designed, and they're like, we're gonna cut half of our emissions in 2020. I'm like, well, nobody told the designers who were designing that product that's coming out in 2020, so just, we're a little behind.
You got it. The devil's in the details, and when anybody tells you that they're gonna do something, you gotta ask for details, because saying things and doing things are two different.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm glad that Portland's doing this, and thank you for supporting us. Thanks for
All right, good discussions. Just a couple other things going on with ideas and topics going forward. So there's legislative actions we can look at, bans, fees, taxes, stuff like that, ordinances, just like the single-use plastic. Citizen outreach activities, just going out, working with the public on contamination, recycling, bring your own cup, all those types of things, tabling, getting out to businesses and talking to employees, that type of stuff. Those are directions. Repair fairs, reuse cafes, and some of the stuff that we'll be talking about today in our panel discussion, how do we increase the amount of reuse. That could be a direction we go in the future. So Kelly, do you want to give us an update just on your climate? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I work with Cracked Pots, which has been around over 25 years, largely focused for a number of years on creative reuse and upcycling with artists. We have an annual art show, we have an artist in residency program, but what we're really excited about right now is that our retail store, which is sourced directly by diverting things that have been thrown away, we've recently exceeded 500,000 pounds diverted from the transfer station. That's Our volunteers are out there 20-25 hours a week right now. We're hoping to up that. We're easily rescuing an average of a ton a week or more. And those are things that have been thrown away from the Metro transfer station in Northwest. Our volunteers find, fix, clean, repair, merchandise, and keep our little retail store going. Last year and so far this year, our income is covering our costs. Thanks to the help of 65 to 75 volunteers a month who are contributing over 500 hours a month to keep us afloat. It's super exciting. We're at Killingsworth and Williams, open Wednesday through Sunday, 10 to 5. And yeah, super interesting place. Tell your friends or come check us out. And we're really excited about our milestone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so those are some of the things to think about as we get set up here for our panel discussion. So enough from me. Yes, one more question?
You said something earlier about food waste reduction, and it reminded me of something. This is sort of a side issue of compost. And I think everybody who lives in Portland, who lives in a house, has a green bin for yard debris and food waste, which hopefully is really like just the crumbs, right, that you're using most of your food. So there's a website called sharewaste.com, and you can put a pin on the map and say, I'm accepting food waste. Or you can go look and email somebody and say, I live in an apartment and I really want to compost my food waste. Can I put it in your green bin? And now I have 16 people putting things in my green bin. If more of you who have that city recycling service, it's really easy. I keep my bin beside my house. I tell them if it gets picked up on Wednesday, please bring it on Tuesday, like not a week earlier. And I'm sure any given person's just bringing a small amount, and maybe not every week. We just put it out with our yard debris, and so it's a worldwide website. I think it started in Australia, sharewaste.com. up, and I've been on it about 6 months, 16 people. I think a quarter of the city of Portland lives in units of 5 or more, who, as of yet, the city has not mandated that they will have access to compost. But people want to do it. They're keeping it in their freezer, in their refrigerator. They're willing to drop it off on their way to work or whatever. So the more people that sign up, maybe I won't need to take on all the 17th person. Yes, yeah. Maybe we can write it on that.
Cool, thanks, Casey.
Yeah.
Share waste.
I'll do one more plug for, has anyone listened to the Talking Trash podcast? Some of you? Okay, so Peglet Point, who works at Kink FM, she puts on, I think, a weekly podcast. She's got a ton of topics on all this information. She just had David Alloway on there, who, if you've ever heard him speak, it's amazing. I learned 10 more things listening to that one, just came out. So if you like podcasts, it's a great resource. You can go back through her history. I was on there early on. That's not why I'm plugging it, but we got to talk about our organization a little bit. But everyone on there is, you would all enjoy that conversation quite a bit. So I definitely hope you check it out. It's free. It automatically downloads on your phone. You do it while you're working out, walking around, doing chores, going to work, working, whatever. So highly recommend that. Okay, so I think that's all for right now. Let's get our panel discussion up here, because that's really why you came. And let's hear what other great stuff's going on in our city.
We're going to get 3 chairs right here. Yeah.
I was a board member at Recycling Advocates for a couple of years, and I'm now the resource manager. And I'm really happy to bring together 3 amazing women. And I'm proud to say I'm a customer of all 3 of their enterprises. So I'm here to introduce Chris Gower, who is the owner and the founder of Here We Go Again. And we have Lauren Gross, who runs all of the amazing Fix-It fairs, repair cafes. And yeah, sorry. And then we have Jocelyn, Quarrell, yeah, who is here to talk about GoBox. So, yeah, right on. So, I'm sorry to say that I didn't give these gals any time to consider any questions. Because I just got in from Madrid last night, so I'm a little bit hungover, and they're giving me a big break. But when I became a master recycler, my mind was blown, and I was a changed person. And mostly what changed me was the idea of reusing. Of course, recycling was a no-brainer, but reuse was the thing that really changed my life. And so I began to reuse everything. I began to reuse clothing, I fixed things, and of course I would reuse any kind of implement that contained food. And it blew my mind. So I want to just pass the microphone to these 3 gals. They could just briefly tell us about your work and just tell us about your business a little bit. And then I have a couple questions that will pertain to messaging and consumer behavior.
Thanks, Denise. Thanks, everyone, for being present and for being a good listener. My name is Jocelyn Quarrell. I am the owner of GoBox. I am not the founder. Laura Weiss founded GoBox back in 2011, but I acquired the business from her last year. It's been about a year and a half. There was a big jump. I'm a first-time entrepreneur, but I saw a lot of similarities in GoBox to what I had in my work experience, which included both car and a lot of bike sharing work. And I said, well, I've shared vehicles, certainly containers can be that different, and kind of started on this adventure. It was just a few months into the national sorting policy being implemented by China, and people's awareness around single-use plastic waste and what's really happening to it and what our options are. was hitting a fever pitch. So we've had quite a good year in terms of onboarding a bunch of new food vendors that I have to give a ton of credit for, because we really don't have to work very hard to find new vendors that want to participate with our program. They're reaching out to us, which gives me a ton of hope. And then of course we have new subscribers that are joining every day and choosing to reuse and avoid the single use. So we've been really focused on containers for most of our history, but we did launch our new reusable cup in June of this year. Yeah. Thank you. And we're in 7 different cafes now, kind of scattered across the east side. We have yet to get our cups onto the west side. But kind of a slow rollout to make sure that it's a different sort of product. People can bring their own cups into cafes, and so we got a little bit of pushback, like, is this really necessary? And I'm like, well, we're still throwing away 50 million single-use coffee cups every year, so I think so. And again, similar to our containers, the real benefit is that we stock our food vendors that we partner with our reusables, so they're in-house, meaning that when you go to order your coffee, you can, check out a GoBox cup at that moment. You don't have to remember to bring anything with you or overburden your bag with multiple water bottles and cups and containers. It's on demand. So they're there waiting for you to check out, have your cup, and then toss into our drop site. We collect those used containers and cups, wash them in a commercial kitchen using commercial dishwashing equipment, and then once they're dry and clean, we restock our food vendors. So that's it. Thanks very much for your attention.
Hi, my name is Lauren Gross. I'm with Repair PDX. The goal of Repair PDX is to spread repair culture. We are an all-volunteer-run grassroots organization. We started in 2013 and host monthly events where volunteers fix people's broken household items for free. A lot of our volunteers are in the audience tonight, which is so exciting. So most of the repairs that we do are small appliance, sewing, and bicycle repair, and also, depending on the volunteers that are present, jewelry repair, small engine repair. Once we had clock repair. It's pretty extensive what people can offer, and it's not just about the repair itself, it's also very much a community building event because we require folks to stay with their item. So it's a problem solving together with the volunteer. It's, if people want to, they can learn how to repair their own item, and also it really gives people permission to fix their own stuff at home. Like, I personally have had experience where my coffee grinder broke, and I was like, oh, I can fix that myself. And I watched a YouTube video and clean the contacts, and the feeling of empowerment that you get when you fix something yourself is indescribable. And so the more people that we can get to have that experience, or even just sit next to the person who's repairing their item, just plants that seed in folks where maybe they want to start their own event, or they want to volunteer with us, or just try fixing something at home. So it's about spreading repair culture, but it's also about, just on a very basic level, like valuing the materials that we have, and really just making connections with the materials, making connections with the volunteers, and doing it in like a community way.
Hi, I'm Chris Gauger, and I'm the owner of Here We Go Again Deluxe Resale Boutique. I have 2 locations in Portland. We've been in business for 27 years. Yes, I am that old. And I've been in the business much longer. My mother started a store in Lincoln, Nebraska called OMT, and my sister's now run, and they're celebrating 40 years this year. So it kind of runs in my family now. What we do is primarily consignment. We resell clothing that people bring to us selectively. We curate what we take in, and sad to say, we have to refuse an awful lot of what people bring us because the quality is not good enough to resell. It's not. I get very discouraged when I think about fast fashion, and I just recently read a book called Overdressed that's really, really frightening. just to give you, I looked up a few stats today just to give you some idea. The average U.S. citizen generates about 82 pounds per year of waste textiles. And about 70 pounds of that goes into the landfill. Most of it, 90% of it, could be reused or recycled. So that's something that we need to continue to educate our clientele about, and something I'm very passionate about. But I don't have the answer book yet, so I guess we're ready for questions.
Okay, so, all right, I'm just gonna start. You all are welcome to jump in, but I'm gonna lob a couple of questions at you guys. So one of the things that we have struggled with in Recycling Advocates is the message. You know, how do we talk about what we are trying to achieve? You know, there's the actual, oh yes, please bring your own cup, but the bigger message is, you know, something more existential, and we still are groping at that. But as business owners, and not necessarily you, Lauren, it's not necessarily a business that you run, but you all are involved in an enterprise. And I want to ask you, maybe quickly, each of you could talk about what is the message that resonates best with your customers or user that fosters a culture of reuse?
That's an excellent question, and it's a tough nut to crack because, well, we're talking about a diverse population, and different messaging will work with different people, and so you kind of have to be a bit dynamic and be prepared to offer different messages to ensure that you're reaching everyone that you want to. But generally, we tend to shame people, make them feel really badly about the impact. That's not what we do. That doesn't work at all. You kind of have to do the opposite. You have to make them feel really good about those little things that they're doing, and that's our angle, is just trying to pump up that altruism that motivates people to do right just for the sake of doing right, with really no other motivating factor. Well, maybe, you know, that they want a livable future for their children, but you know, it's a really dynamic kind of challenge to be facing. And sometimes we toe the line. I mean, there's some great brands out there that we like to pull inspiration from. Patagonia is often named as like doing a really good job of sometimes like drawing the line in the sand and being like, this is our position on this. Like, we're a business, but we are also individuals that vote, and we have a political voice, and we're not going to shy away from that just because we want dollars. Because it turns out it's more economically valuable for them to draw that line in the sand. That ends up actually making them more profit. Which is kind of flipping on the head the old school, old business kind of concept, which is beautiful to see. So that's kind of how we approach that.
So the Repair Cafe concept is not ours. It started in 2009 in the Netherlands by a woman who's a journalist who decided that she just wanted to start doing something rather than writing about it. And since 2009, it's in like 50 countries or something, and it's spread all over the world. So I would say the Repair Cafe concept is something that's really easy to grasp, and it's obviously a need that's worldwide. So it really is a movement that we're just a very small, tiny bit a part of. And also, I would say that one thing that works really well when we're just talking about it ourselves is starting with why we do it rather than what we do, because it immediately grabs people's emotions, and I think it makes it easier to connect on that heart level, rather than if I started saying we host monthly events. It's much more of a connection that's made when we say we spread repair culture, and then people can form their own ideas in their head about what that means. But I think it's really important to start first with the heart.
Well, this is a toughie for me because I would say the majority of people that shop resale don't shop resale because it gives them warm fuzzy feelings about I'm saving the earth and I'm reusing. It's just fun, and they like the thrill of the hunt. What we try to do is to educate people about why better quality clothing is worth extra money, because it will last longer, it's more durable, the styles are going to stay in longer. It's not something you're going to wear 6 times and then it falls apart because it's made with the cheapest possible materials with 0 seam allowance, so it can't be repaired and holes can't be fixed and so on. So largely that's what we do. But even some of the things that we are not able to sell, we reject for consignment. We have, and I have a flyer over here, so this is my plug here. We do retain a lot of those things and we save them up, and about quarterly we have a big event called the $3 sale, and it's a charity fundraiser. So we still are keeping them in use, but we just clear out part of the store and we fill it up with things that were not quite up to our, or they didn't sell on our consignment, or they just didn't quite make the quality standard because we have limited space. So and we sell them for $3, and the proceeds all go to a fund charity. So we have one coming up in October 19th. Because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, this one is going to be for Breast Friends, which is a local group that is very close to my heart, both literally and figuratively. And but it's mostly just a matter of educating people that buying something that is better quality, better materials, better made sustainably, is a better purchase than something that you're going to wear 3 times and throw it away.
Yeah, it's true. Everything I'm wearing, I bought at Chris's store. So, yeah, I often get that. It's like, oh, where'd you get that? It's like, well, I didn't get it at Macy's, I'll tell you that. So, yeah, and oftentimes, I learned how to fix things, thankfully. I've been a mender in Lawrence, repair cafes, and I've also been, a person who stood in line and had a tremendous gratification of having something fixed. Yeah, it's so cool. So is there anybody that would like to lob a question at these guys? I've got some more, but I'll open it up. Go ahead.
I have a question for GoBox.
GoBox.
I'm a student at the University of Portland, and the cafeteria is trying to implement an eco-container, and we have a lot of trouble getting them back from students, so I'm wondering how you hold your participants accountable for bringing them back and not just accumulating them.
Yeah.
And like where your drop sites are, and whether or not they're strategically chosen, like for the sake of recycling to like pick them, that kind of thing.
Sure. The first half of the question was particular to the PSU cafe, and how do you actually encourage people to bring reusables back? And then the second question was pertaining to drop sites and how we place those in order to be convenient. And so I'll to address the second part of the question first. We are strategic. We encourage food vendors that we participate with to try to find real estate in-house that they can host a drop site, because that makes it the most convenient for their regulars to use GoBox. Some of our food vendors don't have real estate for drop sites in-house, like food carts or smaller brick and mortars. And so we've partnered with other local businesses. We have drop sites in bike shops, in banks, in home goods stores, because they're strategically kind of in a geographic area that makes sense for where people are visiting those vendors that don't have real estate for a drop site. So we do try to be really strategic about that, but we also are trying to just get them everywhere, because that's a big, that aspect of it is kind of the linchpin, is like making sure that people it is convenient for people to return them, so that they will. Because it's not convenient, or there isn't a hook to get them to return it, they won't. And containers will accumulate on desks or in trunks. And so the way that our system works is we build in that accountability hook into our mobile app. So when you sign up for GoBox, you download our app, and then you can access your account through the app. And when you sign up, you select how many credits you want on your account, and that dictates how many reusables you can have checked out at any given time. And we're currently limiting people to only 4. So you can only have 4 reusables at a time before, if you want to check on a new clean one, you have to bring some back and you have to check them into the drop site so that we can reuse those. That's the whole point. But that accountability hook does matter. It is literally how we are trying to retrain people. And it's a little thing, and it's not even directly tied to the containers. Our containers are not RFID chipped. They're not individually QR coded or anything. There's a moment when you scan the QR code that's on the drop site to check your reusable back in that you actually then have to open the lid and put the reusable in the drop site. But by and large, people are doing that because they understand that if I do this, then a clean one is going to be waiting for me at the food vendor the next time I go to place an order. So that's how we're approaching that.
Okay, anybody else?
Oh, I have a
Go ahead.
question about that.
Deborah.
How do we, thank you. Yeah. How do we know where GoBox is located? Like, can we choose what food carts we go to because they support your business?
Yeah, you can find all the food vendors that we work with and all the drop site locations on our website, which is goboxpdx.com. And if you download our mobile app, it's free. Before you log in or sign up, you can click on a link that says find local vendors, and so you can pull up our Google map and see what's nearby. If there's a food vendor that you would love to see participating that's not yet, let us know. info@goboxpdx.com, and talk to them about it too. And let them know that you would shop there or you would visit there more frequently and order food if you could utilize GoBox. And we are grateful for your help.
Last question is, do you know what your capacity is? Like, is there, if another company, or like how many companies are you hoping to work with? What is your limit?
Oh gosh.
Can you go?
The sky's the limit here. We're just about up to 100 food vendors that we're working with across Portland. And there are 200 or 300 more cafes and 500 or 600 more restaurants. We're looking to expand beyond Portland proper. When I bought the business in last June, we were just downtown. We were really just focused on Midtown. We had a little bit of the Pearl, some in South Downtown. And since I've come on board, again, largely because food vendors have just been reaching out to us wanting to participate, we've been able to expand across the east side from Selwood, Woodstock to North Portland now. And New Seasons is an incredible partner for us in that capacity. We're now in all 10 of their Portland area stores. And they kind of serve as a cornerstone for us. They're both a vendor and they have a drop site there too, so other local businesses that might not have the real estate, have the access to that. We're all about getting as many food vendors participating as possible.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So I think that one of the things that, of course, becoming the enlightened reuse person is turning on to is just incorporating that into everything I do. But I've had to do it in little stages. The reality is like once when I became a master recycler, I didn't, I wasn't like, I was bad sometimes. Okay. And yes, I was bad sometimes, and I was like still a wishful recycler. So I want to ask. Maybe I'll start with Chris at this point. So do you feel like your customers? What are you doing, or what can you do, or what do you feel like we can all do as a community to help bring along people into more of a lifestyle rather than an occasional reuse situation?
I know that I need that.
Okay, all right. Chris is just going to bellow.
I'm just going to, theater background. Well, one thing I do is I try to educate my clientele about how to take care of their things, to keep them repaired. We sell a Northwest-based, all-natural leather conditioner lotion that they can use, and I do live videos a couple times a week and Weatherstone to detail your sweaters, and here's how to treat your leather so it will last longer, and make sure you do this a couple times a season, and here's how to look at the types of soles that are on shoes and boots, and know which kinds can be resoled and over again, so that they have a longer lifetime. So even though it might cost more to start with, you know, if you look at it over the course of the lifetime of how many wearings you're going to get out of that, the cost is much reduced. So we do try to educate that. We tried doing a little put a button on it event where it was, you know, bring things in to be repaired. If you've got a tiny mothball, or if the ham's coming out, you need the zipper fixed. You know, unfortunately, it was not very well attended. I'll just put it that way. But I thought it was a great idea. But mostly we're trying to keep people understanding that don't hang on to your stuff. If you're not wearing it, don't hang on to it. It's not getting you anything in your closet. Turn it in again. Let's find somebody else who loves it new to them, and keep the cycle moving until it is finally worn out. And then let's get it to Gentex so that we can recycle the fibers, so that it's not just going into landfill. Because the amount of energy that it takes to make a garment and to grow the cotton is horrible in terms of an environmental, but it's biodegradable. So, you know, it's how do you weigh the pluses and minuses of different aspects of clothing, but mostly how do you take care of it so it lasts longer, and you get more wearings out of it, or you can bring it back into consignment because it's still in good enough condition.
That's good. Lauren, do you feel like the people that attend the repair cafes are adopted across the board, or what's your experience on that?
I feel like education is an area where we could do a lot more, because we do get a lot of folks who want to learn. We don't really have that many opportunities other than just being a participant at the repair cafe, sitting next to the volunteer. Like we have a 14-year-old who's coming on Thursday. By the way, Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Southeast Portland Library. It's the 20th installment. Who has been tinkering himself and really wants to learn from people who do it for a living. So there are opportunities for folks who they want to just sit next to one of our volunteers and learn in kind of like an apprentice kind of way. There's so many opportunities for folks to do that, but I think people don't really know that that's an option. And then also, once they are with a volunteer, I think one of the biggest barriers to fixing things yourself is that people are afraid they're going to break it more. And like our volunteers often encourage folks to just try it, and there's all kinds of YouTube videos, and so I think it's really just giving people permission to try. And I think we can go a lot farther. There's a lot more work to do than that. Yes. Bree.
Just jumping onto that question. I know you work with the Tinker Camp, right? Tinker Camp, yeah. So I'm just curious if there's any way to partner with some sort of Tinker Camp, or that could be like a booth at one of the repair cafes, so that people can come and learn how to do simple things like sew on a button or like patch their pair of pants, so that they're actually building the skills themselves.
Yeah, so have like a little skill share
Yeah.
at
Because we
the
have
event.
so many repair cafes, but we'll never be able to fix everybody's things, right? And we need to be able to cultivate that like learning experience so that people can repair their own things as well.
I know.
Yeah.
We want to do a lot more learning experiences, whether that's a workshop at a Fix-It Fair that's put on by the City of Portland, or if it's like our own.
We've done a darning.
We've done darning, we've done lamp rewiring. Yeah, it's just, we're just at the very beginning. There's a lot of room to do more.
I wonder if also it'd be an opportunity for you guys to even go to schools, like even high schools, and just show them examples of how you work, and then get them, because a lot of those kids also might not have the opportunity or like even awareness about that, and that might inspire them to even have more fun.
Yeah, we've been having conversations with folks that do the SUN program, so after school stuff.
Yeah.
And then we've had a few conversations so far, but it hasn't led to anything yet. But that is definitely something that Yeah, it's kind of, like we're just at the beginning. We definitely want to make it happen. Because a lot of our volunteers started tinkering when they were 4 or 5. I think it was just taking things, it wasn't about putting things back together. But, yeah, it's just about playing and having fun and being curious and figuring out how stuff works. And we definitely would like to do more of that with kids. There's a group in the Netherlands called Repair Kids that does that. They have a little video that they just get a bunch of broken stuff and have the parents and the kids, and they put it out all on a blanket or a table and give them tools and say, have at it. And it's purely about like exploring curiosity and figuring stuff out. And it's a way to get people interested and then move into like figuring out more things.
I have a question for you, Lauren. Do you guys have a permanent location, or does it pop up?
We like to move around the city so that we can reach different populations, but over the years we've figured out consistent places. So we partner with the Southeast Portland to a library, North Portland to a library. We do all the Fix-It fairs, which are in November, January, and February. They move around different schools, but we always do those too.
You're monthly, right?
We're monthly except for June and July, because it's too hard to organize volunteers in the summer. But yeah, we have consistent locations, but we move around.
And to follow up question, do you think that there's an opportunity to make Repair PDX a permanent location? Long term, with funding available, I just imagine like if there is a place for folks to go to permanently, a permanent home for this service, folks are more likely to, actually bring things on a regular basis as they break down, rather than, I don't know, disposing of it because they don't want to deal with it next month or later, or being in their garage or something.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
That would be great.
Right now, we're grassroots, everybody's volunteer, and we do what we can. But having something consistent and having more of a force behind it would be amazing.
Could you remind me what was the original question?
I don't know. We were talking about reuse.
Okay.
No, we were talking about
Messaging that helps people incorporate.
yeah. The idea is that
Life, not just
are there
one
people in your organization that are just doing this, but not adopting a big lifestyle, of reuse? Are they siloing their reuse? Or maybe you're not aware of that.
Yeah, well, I can only speak for myself because we're still a very small business.
Yeah.
But I will say that, buying GoBox was a pivot for me out of sustainable transportation, where I had been focusing, building a career in. And so it's been a very steep learning curve over the past year and a half. I feel like there were some aspects of me just being a little bit of a penny pincher. Like I shop for resale clothing frequently and ride my bike around, and I feel like I was doing pretty okay in a few different categories, and then I started to do this deep dive into everything else, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much work to do, and to not get overwhelmed. And when I talk about this with people, kind of share this advice is just focusing on one area of my life at a time, and making small improvements there. Ideally, not running out and buying a bunch of new stuff. That's an aspect of the zero waste kind of movement that I really struggle with, because ideally we would be reusing things as part of your reuse and not just going out to buy new things to supplement this new interest in reuse. But I recently got my bathroom totally plastic free, which I felt like was a pretty big step, and like I'm doing the safety razor thing now, and so that was a long time coming. And now that I'm starting to feel comfortable with a few different aspects, we're starting to share that information through our social media or newsletters. We're looking to provide a profile on other low waste or zero waste companies in Portland in our newsletter. So the one that we're sending out tomorrow morning, we have a little blurb in there about Fernway Food Company. I don't know if anyone has heard of Fernway yet, but they are making adventure meals in non-plastic packaging. So you're looking like dehydrated meals that you would take bikepacking or backpacking with you. And it always comes in that like double wall kind of like incredibly difficult to recycle unless you send it to TerraCycle. And instead, you can go to a locally owned business, woman-owned business. She dehydrates all locally produced food and creates these awesome, delicious meals that you can get in canvas bags. And it's called Fernweh, F-E-R-N-W-E-H, Fernweh Food Company. She's awesome, new, and doing a great job. So just trying to raise awareness around other small businesses that are helping to approach this problem has been fun for us too.
Thank you so much.
Oh, was there a question?
Yeah, another question. Go ahead.
One question. So I don't know if this relates, but I'm thinking about all those the people who get the food to go, like all those different companies who deliver it. Are they able to do GoBox?
You talk about like Postmates, Uber Eats, all that stuff.
All of that.
Yeah. So not yet. They are. Their jam is delivery, and they're dependent on kind of abusing contract labor, as it were. So we have not yet been able to find an end with them, and further, we have some technological work that we need to do to basically produce an API that we can plug into their system so that when somebody orders a meal through Postmates, they can select to use GoBox. That communicates with our system, checks the reusable out, and then they get it delivered, and then it's on their account basically until they. So it's a long-term goal. We're moving in that direction, and hopefully once we get to that point, I think there are some food companies, delivery companies that'll be easier to get on board than some others. We are starting with a great partnership with Portland Pedal Power. So they're a locally based bike-powered delivery company, catering company, and so if your business is hosting catered meals weekly or monthly, reach out to them and ask if you could incorporate GoBox. We're working with a few major employers that order 100+ meals a week, and that impact adds up super quickly. And it's a really uniquely Portland experience as well to be able to offer clients that are visiting from out of town this zero waste kind of catered lunch. So that's where we are at this point, but we have grand visions. So thanks for the question.
Okay, well, we're gonna respect the agenda time, and so we're gonna wrap this up. But I just want to say, I want to thank our panelists for coming, and I want to ask you to support their businesses and their enterprises. Chris Gower from Here We Go Again. She has 2 locations in Portland, so shop till you drop. Super fun. Thank you, Lauren from Repair Cafe. Amazing. I have learned so much from Repair Cafe. I love it. And thank you so much, Jocelyn from GoBox. So bring it on to the panelists. All right, so run to the back and get some refreshments while we regroup, because we're about to have a really big discussion that we need your attention on. So get some refreshments.
We have to do our vote for our board members. And unfortunately, we're losing one of our board members this year, Susan Mead, over here.
Susan, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all your work over the years. Thank you, Susan. And so we do have one person that will be renewing this year, our finance and treasurer, Holly Hummel.
Thank you, Holly.
We'll say a couple words about
For my blue bags. Hold on.
And then as anyone who has donated to us in the last year, you're eligible to vote for the board members. So if you could let Denise know, we can get you a little ballot.
I feel like Anna White right now. There you go.
So thank you to everybody who has donated to our group. We're going to talk about treasurer and also the finance.
So,
There you go.
I'm Holly, I want your money, Hummel, right? So, but one sort of painless way to donate to the charity of your choice, and hopefully it is Recycling Advocates, is to get one of these, I don't need things, well, I'll do, is to get one of these bottle drop bags. And,
We have plenty.
right, oh, okay, so great, thank you, Denise.
The tag's already on. This is really
Great. So if anyone wanted to take one of these,
with you tonight.
we've already got them tagged, and all you do is take them to so you put your deposit cans and bottles in, right?
Who signed up for bottle drop here? Yeah, lots of people.
Right on, right on. And if you don't have your own bottle drop account and want to donate funds, or if you know people that are just tossing their bottles or leaving them on the curb or doing whatever, I give these out, and the blue bags are all for charities. And so you can go to, like, there's a bottle drop site at Fred's in Hollywood, and then that's the one I go to, so I don't know where the other ones are. There are the big bottle drop sites in Delta Park, but like Fred's in Hollywood, you just scan this, it opens up the slot, you drop it in, and then the money that's in the bag.
If you fill up one of these bags, it's about $5.
It's a little more than that.
It can
Well,
be-
depends on what you put in.
Yeah, but it's average is around $5 or $6. So. Right, but I mean, yes, but I, you know, because my sons drink a lot of beer, I know. I've studied this. But anyway, it tends to be between $5 and $6. So that's
It's sort of a painless way to give. And the beauty of the whole bottle drop system is that it creates a clean stream of recycling that nobody has to go through, you know, diapers or other stuff that it winds up in recycling boxes, right? All this is clean and it gets reused. So whether you use, grab one of our bags or participate in some other, you know, get your own free bag, your own account, it's a good thing. So I balance the books, I do the financial statements, I don't do much fundraising. I mean, we're always happy for people to become members, you know, participate, because we need members that are going out and doing the work, because there's not enough people power to get our message across, right? So if somebody has a $50 membership, we'll give you a reusable cup. We have some right here. But more than the money, we need people to, you know, promote our campaign or start another campaign. We're talking to Upcycle group about whether we can combine forces to try to find a home for plastic in, you know, locally, to find a use for some of the recycled plastic, because that's the problem, right? Is we're creating plastic and not finding use for it. Anyway, so I'm the treasurer, and I'd like to vote. Thank you. But what I really like is your membership, and we need people on the board of directors. If we don't get at least one more board member by the end of the year, Recycling Advocates is going to be no more. So we need people to, you know, either change our road, continue on our bring your own cup path, or take us down another path. We've got a lot to offer. We are a 501c3 charity. We have a board of directors. We have a mailing list. We have a great website, and you guys probably get our newsletters. But we can't go alone. So if let's you know, the world needs us. So let's keep it going. Thank you.
Thank you. So those of you who have a ballot, then please fill that out now. And if you need one, let me know.
So if you are, you've donated to our organization in the last year, you are eligible to vote.
while we're doing that, I also wanted to invite
Yes,
Scott up.
I will also collect your ballot.
Scott has shown some interest in maybe being a board member, but we have some discussions last week about potential projects, so I'd like him to introduce himself and then talk about some of the work you guys are working on. Maybe a direction you want to go in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, I'm going to try to consolidate this as small as possible. I represent a very small group who have been looking at the problem of waste plastic and what to do with it for over a year. We've done hundreds of hours of research and putting ideas together and throwing things around. And what it comes down to is this: we have identified 3 projects. One which just is purely for educational purposes, but 2 that would actually remove a tremendous amount of waste plastic from the waste stream. Originally, I'm from Lincoln County, down near Toledo, Newport. And originally our idea was that we would try to get a zero plastic waste situation, because currently in Lincoln County, all 4 recyclers and waste management companies have their plastic hauled to a landfill outside of Salem. There are no landfills left in Lincoln County, so which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. Before the Chinese cut us off from taking plastic waste, the waste companies were actually making about $60 a ton to haul the stuff up here to ship it out to China. After that, it now costs them $100 a ton, just the tip fee. That $100 does not cover the cost of fuel, the cost of the trucks, the cost of the employees who haul the waste. So our initial goal was, we want to stop the waste stream, we want to remove all the plastic, have something to do with it. So we did all this time and research and everything. So this is kind of a cart before the horse thing. We're about 3 carts back now. We've identified these 3 projects. One of them is precious plastics. That's, if some of you may have heard of that. It's purely educational. It's very small priority. Yes, it doesn't use very much plastic. The other one is we're working with a professor at Oregon State who has started a plastic to fuel project. He has a reactor, which is really a still, where he can take about 100 pounds or 10 pounds of waste plastic and turn it into about 1 gallon or 10 gallons, depending on the amount of into diesel fuel. It's a very hot diesel fuel, but it can be blended in with regular diesel fuel and works real well. The one that I'm here tonight to talk about is plastic roads. We've identified a company in Scotland that has come up with an activator where they take some of the percentage of the bitumen that goes into asphalt pavement and replace it with waste plastic. It uses all 7 types of plastic. That's one of the good news. It requires minimal washing, and once the activator is employed, it actually molecularly changes the mix so that the plastic does not leach into the environment. It stabilizes it. One of their claims, and I'm just as skeptical as anybody can be, one claim that they make is that these roads last 3 times longer than current practices making pavement. So originally we wanted to just cover Lincoln County, but as it turns out, we found out that ODOT will not let this happen anywhere in the state until they have tested the process. Now, it's employed in a lot of countries in Europe. I think they're doing it in China now. There are 4 tests that are currently going on right now, trials in Georgia, New Jersey, North Carolina, and California, down near UC San Diego. It's part of the campus. And but what has to happen here in Oregon for this to happen, if we can do what we want to do, the whole state will be eligible. All the counties will. It won't just be Lincoln County. And so what we are after is we are trying to get a 501c3 that will sponsor us, back us, do whatever it needs to do, so that we can get the testing done at an impartial lab which just happens to be located at Oregon State University. And this grant that we are applying for is a DEQ grant. We need about $60,000 to $75,000 to get the tests to happen. It isn't going to cost you guys or this organization any money. We're just spearheading it. We need a 501c3 to make this happen. And that's where we're at. This is a thing that the deadline for the grant that we have 95% written right now is October 4th. So that's why I drove up from Lincoln County today to talk to you folks to see if you're receptive to the idea. If this happens within a year, this could actually come to fruition. Could actually start diverting plastic out of the waste stream in the whole state. So it's something to think about. But that's it. I really admire the panel that we're talking about the way reuse and all those good things. But to me, we've come to a place where the situation is so dire. Nobody's really looking at it. We're just barely got politicians starting to talk about climate change being addressed. Nobody's really talking about plastic in a legislative sense. I mean, we're doing ban the bag programs. I was with Surfrider until about a month ago. Surfrider has adopted the policy, even though my project fits in with their mission statement, they won't endorse it. And the reason is because they have decided that they're just going to try to turn off the spigot, just trying to reduce plastic legislatively. And that's where we just kind of hit the wall. So I resigned. I was chair down there for about a year, and my partner Catherine Valentino was the vice chair. And we've been working on this together for quite a while, over a year now. So that's why I'm here. I'm perfectly willing to serve on this board. I have a lot of experience on boards. I was on the Oregon Coast Council for the Arts for 4 years. I was one of the initial board members for the farmers market down in Newport. I was the chair of Surfrider for a year and sat on that board. We also had a reforestation co-op that I was a board member of, and we were trying to get a private seedling company together. Been associated with the arts for many years, been a playwright. My work has been produced. We have just a lot of directions that we can go. But the main thing that we're trying to do right now, and let me tell you, if we don't get this grant, we're just going to apply for another one. But this is the best one. This is a $600,000 grant amount that the DEQ is putting out there, and it's specifically aimed at materials. And there's a lot of things that are going into asphalt you may not be aware of. They're growing glass. Pig manure has been used. Red cinder roads. If you've ever been in eastern Oregon and central Oregon, you see a lot of red cinder roads. You know, that's where the aggregate comes from. But there's a lot of interest in this because gravel is becoming more expensive and it's becoming scarce. The kind of rock that really works for asphalt is we're getting more and more that are recycling more aggregate from asphalt. There's 2.7 million miles of road in the United States that's paved. There's almost that much unpaved. So when you figure out how much material can be used and how often it can be used, we have a home for a lot of plastic. To give you an idea, 1 mile of plastic pavement would use the equivalent of 1.1 million plastic bottles. So it's a lot. There's a lot here to say. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I've got cards. We have a website called Plastic Upcycling. Done a lot of research on it. It's real hard to consolidate everything into this short of a talk, but we're on our way and we're just looking for help. But yeah, I'll be on this board if I can get on.
So those are the types of projects and initiatives that we can go and pursue and look into. So we won't necessarily have like an open call tonight for other board members, but we definitely are looking for 3 or 4 more. We'd like to get up to 8 total. We're at 3, maybe 4. We'd like to get up to about 8 or so we can have a really healthy board. And so if you have any interest, please reach out to us through our website or contact us on the phone. Information will go to Denise through email and through the phone. We're looking for lots of different help. Some people could run specific projects like this and work through that. Others could help with social media. We have actually an Instagram account and a Facebook account, so if you have pictures tonight, you can post them on our Recycling Advocates user accounts. We have people looking for help with volunteer coordination and tabling. We need help with marketing plans,
Coffee shops.
working and volunteering, working with on specific campaigns or changing directions. So if you have a particular passion, first I want to thank you all for coming, but also if you have something specific that you want to promote or talk about and help this organization move towards in that direction, then I think being a board member is the best way to leverage and move that forward. So we're looking for people who have passion around certain topics and want to have an influence on an organization that has a lot of good history. We've had great people over the years who've been involved in the organization. Our board is very passionate about this organization, but we're just running into personal issues with the time commitment and being able to commit the time it would take to it. So we get a bigger board and some new fresh blood in to the organization. I think that's what this organization needs right now. So please think about it and reach out to us after the meeting. Does anyone else have any other topics or potential project ideas that they'd like to see this organization move towards that they haven't shared yet? Or yeah.
So I'm not saying I'm interested in being on the board. But okay, so I was listening to a talk a few years ago, and the idea of thoughtful consumption came up, and it grabbed me in a way that I hadn't really thought of it before, and I think and feel that it encompasses so much of what everybody in this room does. And I daydream sometimes about a campaign around thoughtful consumption and really just getting into helping everybody think about how they're consuming.
Is that different from zero waste?
Yeah.
How is that different from art?
The Be Resourceful PDX project has been really
Yeah,
good
so
on that.
when Alicia did a talk,
Yeah.
that was the talk that I heard.
Yeah.
So it's, if there's so many people doing it, it would just be a way of using all the force that everybody's already doing and combining our forces to be thoughtful about how we consume.
Is Recycling Advocates a statewide organization?
We are an Oregon nonprofit, yes. Now, most of our activity has only been in the Portland metro area because that's where our board is, but that is not because we are limiting to
We worked
that.
on legislation that passed the entire state.
But yeah, if, I would love someday to see the organization have little satellite locations across the state so we can actually represent the whole state. But right now, we are pretty much focused in Portland metro because that's where our board members live. But there's nothing stopping us from expanding out or being completely outside of Portland to cover the rest of the state and not focus on Portland. That's a direction the organization could go. Because there's a need there for sure, as you guys know.
So what else have you discovered so far from your responses to your
Yeah, so those are some of the topics I mentioned earlier with reducing plastic, food waste, even changing the name to something like thoughtful consumption or something that is more appealing. Sometimes recycling is not the best word that people gravitate to anymore. It was set up 30 years ago when there was no infrastructure in Portland for recycling. A lot has changed in that time, so does our name actually reflect what we do, and does that gravitate where we plan? Maybe not. So that's something that we've struggled with. Single-use plastic, more legislative actions, repair activity, right to repair. We've been involved in some of that discussions, reuse. All those things are directions we could go that all kind of fall under the umbrella of we're a citizen group, we're not supported by a business or industry, we're local residents that are trying to advocate for better, sustainable options. So that's a pretty broad umbrella. So as long as it's helping reduce, reuse, and recycle, that's kind of part of our mission. So it's flexible in that sense. So the direction. So I love the work you guys are doing on West Side Recyclers. There's a lot of good excitement and momentum there, and so that's the type of excitement we need to bring to our board for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. Maybe like a quick minute. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Bob Forder. I work at New Seasons, and I don't know if anybody has signed up for the Neighbor Rewards program where you get an electronic receipt. So this is a variation on it that I've proposed to New Seasons, and it gives you sort of hyper-specific recycling instructions. It's sort of like a master recycler in your electronic receipt. So it enumerates all the packaging components of each product. So if you buy, Treetop 8-pack of little juices, it'll tell you that the straw is garbage. Down here. So the plastic straws are all garbage. The Tetra Packs are recyclable, and the cellophane wrapper is also garbage. But if you bought Yogi tea, that in a compostable tea bag, it would say that. If the tea bag were plastic, it would say garbage. And so I crunched through like 2,000 products in aisles 1 through 4 at the Williams store just to show that you could do it. And
Is this happening now?
I'm trying to get it to happen, and I've showed it to some people at the city of
Do you want
Portland.
us to talk to somebody?
It's a notion that maybe, and so I proposed it to New Seasons, and thus far it's run into resistance. So I turned it into a petition, and 100 people have signed it, and I made this little petition portfolio out of stuff that I found at our store. I'm trying to make it happen.
Can we all sign this tonight?
Yeah, it was, go right ahead. Yeah, it was meant for store employees, so like write your phone number. Yeah, and maybe you can just, instead of love New Seasons employees, you can just be like a customer. Yeah, so feel free to sign it. Yes.
I think it's a wonderful idea, Bob, and just play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I can see why New Seasons would be hesitant to do that because it's not good for their business necessarily.
I think that's a reasonable theory. Yeah.
There are a few zero waste shops that are opening up in town.
Right.
It may not
Well,
be
the
right?
part of the petition aspect has been to turn it from a private conversation that I've had with New Seasons, where they tell their little underling that no, they're not going to do this, into something that's more in the public eye, where they tout, on their paper bags that they're a B corporation and committed to the planet, and so being accountable to that, I think, is key. And we were talking earlier about like Patagonia, like drawing the line in the sand and like doing things which maybe initially seem not profitable, but I'm of the belief, and there's a little tag, this is, I consider this to be like Prada meets Glean. So I've actually even got a quote from Miuccia Prada. And Miuccia says, "We bridled the global marketplace to create works of real aesthetic value." And so instead of like, well, what do people want us to make? It's like, we're going to make what we think should be made and have the market respond to that. And I think that New Seasons and B corporations can do that instead of just being kind of commodity slaves. But it's,
I agree.
yeah.
It just may have to
Yeah. I think it's conceivable there's a fear that when people see red on their receipt, that they won't buy those things. And that's the thing. Maybe they shouldn't. And so, or maybe you need to change it. Yeah. So.
They'll find new products to sell.
No, people still need to eat food.
We'll be fine.
So they're gonna buy food. And New Seasons will sell it and not go out of business. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're out of time. I really want to thank everyone for coming. Again, if you have any interest in being involved in the organization, shaping the way we move forward into 2020, please reach out to us.
And also, these things are available for, not the cups, but some of these little items down here,
like to take a button or sticker.
Yeah, we have buttons and stickers.
Brian?
Yes.
What's the average time for that?
So we have a monthly meeting. It's an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if we have some drinks. So we have snacks, so that's a good time. And then on the campaign, it's maybe emails an hour or two a month, or the emails max. Now we want to step that up a little bit, but right now it's not a huge commitment. No. But we do need some direction, and then maybe some every other month or so, we might have a tabling event, so coordinating some volunteers around that. And then I was spending time with coffee shops, maybe a couple hours a month. It's not a huge amount of time, but it is a commitment. So, okay, thank you everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.